Imagine a country made up of over 17,000 islands, stretching across Southeast Asia like a vast chain scattered across the ocean. Now imagine that nearly 2 out of every 3 people in that entire country all live on just one small island, an island that makes up only 7% of the nation's total land area. That island is Java. More than 150 million people live here, more than the populations of Russia or Japan, all packed into a space roughly the size of North Carolina, making it the most populous island on Earth. So how did one island end up carrying most of an entire nation, and why hasn't that balance ever really changed? At first glance, the answer might seem obvious. Maybe it's because the capital city, Jakarta, is located on Java, or maybe it's simply a historical accident that never corrected itself over time. But those explanations are only pieces of a much larger puzzle. Because the real story doesn't start in cities or borders, it starts underground. To really understand how this happened, you first need to grasp the scale of what we're looking at. If Java were its own country, its population of more than 156 million people would make it the 9th largest nation on Earth. And it would be more densely populated than Bangladesh, a country already famous for its extreme population density. The story of how Java became so dominant begins with a gift of fire. The island sits directly on the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the most volcanically active regions on the planet, where frequent eruptions have shaped the land for thousands of years. Over time, those eruptions blanketed Java in layers of incredibly nutrient-rich volcanic ash, creating some of the most fertile soil on Earth and allowing intensive rice farming to flourish on a scale that could support enormous populations. This natural advantage gave Java a massive head start, one that other islands in the region simply couldn't match. That agricultural wealth didn't just feed people, it built power. Powerful kingdoms like the Majapahit rose on Java, controlling vast trade routes across the region, all financed by the island's immense farming output, and slowly turning Java into the political and economic center of gravity for Southeast Asia. When European colonizers eventually arrived, the Dutch didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, they took control of the existing power structures, establishing their colonial capital in Batavia, now known as Jakarta, right on Java itself. For nearly 300 years, colonial administration, trade, and infrastructure were all funneled through this one island, meaning that by the time Indonesia emerged as a modern nation, Java was already the center of everything that mattered. This created a feedback loop that was nearly impossible to break. Fertile land produced more food supported more people generated more power, and more power attracted even more investment. After Indonesia won its independence, that momentum didn't slow down, it accelerated. With the government, top universities, and the country's best infrastructure already concentrated on Java, the island became a magnetic center for industry and opportunity, pulling people in from every direction. For decades, millions of people from other islands migrated to Java in search of work and a better life, while other large islands like Borneo and Sumatra, with more difficult terrain and far less investment, remained less attractive by comparison. Java isn't crowded by accident. It's crowded because for centuries, every major force, from geography and agriculture to politics and economics, kept pointing right back to it. Of course, concentrating this many people onto one island comes at a cost. Jakarta is infamous for having some of the worst traffic congestion in the world, and the city is also sinking at a frightening rate, in some areas by several inches every year. That crisis has been made even worse by the constant strain on water, housing, and infrastructure. The government has tried to solve this problem before. A massive initiative known as the Transmigration Program moved millions of families from Java to less crowded islands across the country. But in reality, it was little more than a drop in the ocean. Around 4 million people were relocated over several decades, yet Java's population was growing so quickly that it increased by that same amount every 2 to 3 years. So now, the government is betting on a far more radical solution, moving the entire capital city. A brand new city called Nusantara is being built from scratch in the jungles of Borneo, with the hope that it will finally shift Indonesia's center of gravity away from Java. But the project has already faced funding cuts, delays, and growing skepticism, raising an uncomfortable question. Can you really undo centuries of geography and history with a single decision? One island, just 7% of the land, holding more than half the country. The story of Java's density isn't really about overcrowding, it's about momentum. It began with a gift of volcanic soil, was reinforced by centuries of political history, and was supercharged by modern economics. And once a country starts moving in one direction for long enough, it becomes incredibly hard to turn. Before we finish, it's time for another free t-shirt giveaway. Comment below with the country this flag belongs to. The winner will be drawn at random. T's and C's in the description below. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching Mapped Out.